Let me tell you why you're here.
I've seen things.
Oh my god.
Whoa, yeah! You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Guaranteed to jack you up.
Yo, what is going on, my dudes? It's your host, Lamar Stays Weird, coming to you once again with another podcast. Now, I know it's been a minute, but I was actually being patient, like impatiently patient, waiting for this movie to come out just so I could talk about it. And I thought it'd be great for the podcast because I do love X. I love the X franchise, and I'm just relieved I finally got to see this movie a few times, and now I get to talk about it. It was a very anticipated movie for me, so of course I figured, you know what, I got some time until then. I might as well just wait for that movie to come out and then record the next episode. And here we are. So that's why it took a minute. But in between then, I have seen some movies, done some stuff, hung out with some friends, family, you know, still trying to keep up living life, trying to enjoy my little slice of the pie, which I hope all of you are as well. So I hope you guys are doing well, man. Much love and good vibes to you. Now, before we actually get into this episode, I wanted to talk about this very weird fucking story. Your boy was almost part of a horror movie himself. And it was a very interesting and scary moment, but we live in Florida, so anything could fucking happen at any time. So this was actually a night we went to go watch In a Violent Nature. Now, I did not enjoy that movie. I don't recommend it, but I mean, hey, if you want to watch it, you want to watch it. I watched it and I thought it would be interesting. I was really looking forward to it, and then man, was it super disappointing. This pertains to the story. So the night already wasn't going too well, so we went to watch a movie none of us just really liked, so it was pretty shit. And then whenever we took a friend home that we went to go watch the movie with, we pulled up to her driveway, we're letting her walk, you know, waving by, still in the car. And my girlfriend's like, you know what, we should wait till she goes inside. I'm like, okay, well, you know, she's fine, you know, she's good. She's a few feet away from her door. Everything is fine. But then she turns around and goes like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like we could see her. Obviously, we can't hear her. So I'm just like, what's going on? And so we stopped. We're like, maybe something's wrong. And then she like turns around. And we're like, oh yeah, no, she's fine. Yeah, everything's fine. We can back up. And then while we start to back up, she comes a little closer to the car and is just like waving her hands, like, whoa, 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 whoa. Roll down the window, pop my head out. Everything okay, yo? Like, what's going on? And then she just says, my front door is open. And then we're all just kind of like, oh shit. And we hear her dog barking. As typical like white people in a horror movie, we're gonna head towards the creepy sounds. So we park the car, I get out, I'm in survival mode, okay, and I watch plenty of horror movies. I know what the fuck I'm doing. So I immediately grab like one of those like lawn like lights that you stick in the ground that have like the little solar panel. I grab that and I wave it around. I'm like, okay, this has some weight. This isn't gonna fall apart on me or anything. And we just start slowly making our way in. You know, I go in the front and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna look around your house. Where's your kitchen? Because I want to get to a knife as quickly as fucking possible. Like a knife, a bat, anything. So like we go in, we're making our way, the dog's barking, and she has a pretty decent sized house. And there's just so many doors. And I tell her like, yo, all right, we're gonna go to the kitchen. I'm gonna grab a knife. So all three of us walk in slowly, quietly, grab knives, and I told her I'm gonna check every door. Like I'm opening up every single door. I'm sorry if I barge in your room or invade your privacy, but yo, if somebody's here, they're gonna get got, man. You know, we're making our way. It's so scary. Like my heart is like pounding. Like adrenaline's like fucking going. My hands are shaking. So we're wandering around. We're calling for her sister, who is supposed to be home too. No response. So worst case scenario is playing in our heads like, yo, her sister's dead, mutilated on a floor somewhere. And this guy's like probably in a closet, you know, playing with locks of her hair or some shit, you know, just full on psycho stuff. And so we're walking around, opening doors, just fucking like just busting them open, clearing corners. And, you know, I may be the tallest 5'6" guy you've ever seen, but, you know, some people are not going to be that intimidated by that. You know, they should, because you never know. But we walk around. She checks her sister's room, and I realize this. Her sister is asleep in the bed the whole time we're calling out for her. Dog barking, door wide open. And we're coming home like around 1 a.m. And then we find out, oh yeah, the sister's been home probably since like 8 o'clock. And it's the fact she went to go check the mail She walked out the front door to go check the mail, but then walked in the garage to go back into the house, leaving her front door open for hours. And the dog didn't get out or anything, and nobody came in and did anything weird. Nothing was stolen or anything. But it was one of the most intense situations I've ever been in, because I thought we were going to straight up murder a dude tonight. And it didn't happen, but it's Florida, so you never fucking know. Like, somebody could be living in our walls right now. But that was a really crazy night, and we talked about it just a couple of days ago because we all met up again. And at that time, we didn't know what happened. So she filled us in on the details that her sister went and checked the mail and then just went in through a different part of the house and completely forgot to close and lock the fucking door. But we were all having dinner together and we were talking about it. And I just said, you know what? Now that we can laugh about it, you know how fucking wild of a story like that lore would have been to all of our characters? Imagine if I got like a dope scar, like I just got sliced across the face and I had a dope scar for the rest of my life. Maybe one that like cuts in between my beard right here. So now I have like this cut that my beard just can't grow over, and it makes people wonder when they see me from a distance, like, what happened to that guy? You know, like, who messed with him? You know, and how did he survive? That type of deal. And then they would just have the trauma and have to go with therapy. But I would be that guy that just kind of stuck it out and say, you know what? I did what I had to do. Maybe I'm the one that ends up killing the guy. And then I told him, you know what? We just end up on the news. Fucking local Florida friends just murdered this guy that broke into this house and completely Casey Beckered like her sister. And, you know, we make the news. We get to talk about it. We go on shows. And you know what? It's a story in the podcast. You get to hear it firsthand right here. And we sign a movie deal. And you know how meta that would be? You know, a bunch of friends go to watch a horror movie. It's not good. So they're already angry, disappointed in the night. And then they go home to find out they're in a horror movie. That's mental. That's diabolical right there. And then the night just, you know, transudes. And I don't even know that's a word, but it sounded right when I was saying that one. It's going to be one of those stories, you know, one of those movies where the end of the movie, that's where you see the dawn. You see the fucking sky just start to turn that light blue, starting to come in a little bit of that orange, letting you know everything's going to be a-okay. And then we'll make like a joke and be like, you know what? You know what the real horror of tonight was? Watching that fucking movie in a violent nature. Yeah. But yeah, that was my story time. So yeah, that was very fucking interesting and very weird. But everything's a-okay. Everybody's alive. Nobody's traumatized, you know, or at least not really, but everything's copacetic. But we'll get back to what we're talking about. So we are talking about Maxine. I was so excited to see this movie. I loved it. I thought it was great. We watched it twice. We watched it opening night, which opening night was definitely better. It wasn't as packed as I thought it would be, but everybody was quiet, watching the movie, respectful. You have a higher chance of having a more respectful like viewing crowd whenever you go opening night, because you're going with the fans and they want to watch the movie just as much as you do. Every now and then you may get some people that may like whisper here and there, but it's not bad compared to every other night that you go to watch a movie, because then you got all the casual people, you know, the casual moviegoers. Because our second viewing, we just had like this couple behind us that would not shut the fuck up for like the first 40 minutes of the film. It's like, dude, seriously, what do you have to talk about that's so goddamn important right now? And I'm not trying to be like that older jaded guy, but it was a younger couple. Like, they were definitely like younger, like probably not even 20. And it's just like, dude, shut up and watch the fucking movie. Like, that's literally all you got to do is shut the fuck up and watch the movie. Everybody pays to watch the movie. Nobody's paying to hear another person talk during the movie. I don't get that mindset. Now, I rated this movie 4 stars, I believe, on Letterboxd, but the average on Letterboxd is actually 3.3. This movie is actually kind of divisive, at least from what I've seen online. A lot of people either really like it, or a lot of people are just saying like, yo, it was a mess, like this is garbage. But I do understand some criticisms where they do come, but I still really enjoyed it personally. In the X series, X is still number 1. X is perfect. I think X is a 5 out of 5 movie for me, 10 out of 10, whatever you want to rate it. And then you got Maxine, which is a good 4 out of 5. I think probably, I don't know, maybe a 7.5 out of 10 is probably what I would say for that movie. And then you got Pearl. Pearl's good. I just didn't like it as much as the other one. I love the vibes and everything else about the first two movies. And on IMDb, it's sitting at a 6.9 out of 10. So it's about like that's pretty understandable. So by all means, I say definitely check it out for yourself. See what you think about it. I thought it was good, and we had an incredible performance out of Kevin Breakfast, and I loved his character. Honestly, his character was my favorite character in the whole movie. Like he did phenomenal. I kind of wish I could see him more playing like this sleazy PI character. But now a little bit of the synopsis of this one. So if you guys have seen X, what I would imagine some people probably have if they are like interested in this movie, after the events of X, took place in 1979. This movie takes place in 1985. So Maxine is 33 now. She's already become a pretty big name in the porn industry. And so what she wants to do is branch out because she still wants that cosmopolitan lifestyle. So she wants to work her way up, become an actress, be like a star, the star, and have like a star on Hollywood. That's what she wants to be. She gets a casting call, she performs, and if you guys have seen like the sneak peek where there's been, the first like maybe 2-3 minutes of the film where she is having that audition, she does very well. And not just because it's Mia Goth, but for somebody who's just like a porn star and then pulls off a performance like that, that's honestly pretty interesting, especially for your first like acting gig. That's pretty something. And of course, she does get the part, and this is going to be the start of her career. This is this jumping off point. But while she's trying to come up in that life, her past is coming back to haunt her. She receives a tape about the stuff that happened in Texas, which I love what they named the incident in Texas. They call it the Texas Porn Star Massacre. That is honestly a great name. Of course, X was very inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So having like that is so cool. And honestly, that is a great porn parody, which I don't know if that's a thing. I kind of want to know. I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna Google real quick. Wow. Okay. So I did indeed find what I was looking for. So there actually is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre porn parody, but it's called Texas Chainsaw Massacre XXX. Not a great ring to it, but I watched like the first 30 seconds of it, and it takes place in Anal, Texas, with the Dildo Sheriff's Department. They have creativity and vision. You gotta love and admire it. Jesus. But yes, that incident is called the Texas Porn Star Massacre, and she receives that tape as a message like, oh, the past is coming back to haunt you. You have stuff to pay for. And that's when she starts getting followed around. And there is this state of paranoia because this does take place around the same time that the Night Stalker is out and about. And they only use him as a backdrop. Honestly, they could have just went without. They didn't really have to involve the Night Stalker in this movie. Not like we ever really saw him or anything. At the end of the movie, we do see like just some footage of where the Night Stalker was arrested and it's just being reported by the news. I mean, cool, but literally there's no real reason to have it. It's just a backdrop, and I think a way to cover up that whoever is doing the killing is able to frame it and pin it on somebody, which is great idea. Nothing wrong with that. It's just a little weird. You would think with somebody like including somebody as high profile as the Night Stalker that okay, there's gonna be a little bit of a payoff here or something. Nah, honestly, it didn't do anything like that, and it didn't do like a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Changing the history and stuff, how they included the Manson family and stuff like that. No, I didn't do any of that. But now Maxine is faced with a challenge where she has to face her past head on before she can actually begin her new life and on the road to stardom. And the movie is very much a murder mystery, although I can say I think it was predictable. I kind of clocked it really, really quick because I don't think there was any other really good option, so it was kind of obvious, and a lot of people didn't like the reveal, but to me it made sense, and I'll go into that a little later. But we have a really cool cast, and I'm gonna have like some posters up here somewhere if you're watching the video, character posters that I really, really enjoyed, and I'm glad they did for this movie, so it'll make it easier for you to see these people and who they're playing. So of course we got Mia Goth playing Maxine once again. Awesome, great performance as always. Elizabeth Debicki, who's playing Elizabeth, who is a director in this movie. That's the one who hired Maxine and is kind of trying to mentor Maxine as she's starting to have her comeuppance in Hollywood. Moses Sumney, who plays Leon Green, who is honestly a really cool character. I liked him a lot. I loved his look, his vibe. He was just a really chill dude. He was the VHS store guy, and I loved it. He had a punk look, like very alternative, kind of rocky grunge. You know, this seems like this is my guy. I would totally hang out with this dude. And working at a job like that with somebody like him, fuck yeah, man. That would have been really sick. I would have been into it. And I think I've talked about this before. In another life, in another timeline, I would have been a VHS store manager or a person that worked at a store. My uncle used to work at a movie gallery, and it was totally cool. I used to hang out with him all the time. So being surrounded by movies and just watching movies, having snacks and talking to people about movies, fucking rad, dude. I loved it so much. And unfortunately, I didn't get to be that. But I did get to be a movie theater guy, and I really, really enjoyed that. Still one of my favorite jobs to this day. Loved it so much. Made some cool friends, some dope memories. I think the best success story of something like that ever happening, Quentin Tarantino, which a lot of you don't know, he was just your local VHS guy who was just a big fan of movies. And he just started writing scripts, and he got a lucky break, and then he went off to become the Quentin Tarantino with an incredible film catalog. So he is like a living legend with his movies, and he was just a VHS store guy. I'm hoping that's going to be your boy one day. So by all means, you know, stick around, follow the path, accompany on my journey into Mordor, and we will reap the riches together and prosper. And then we have Michelle Monaghan, who's playing a detective, along with Bobby Cannavale, which I feel like I always just see him as a fucking cop now in some movies, like the randomest things. He's a fucking cop. He's just in that era of, I'm just going to be that actor that's always a detective. And hey, get that bag, man. Do your thing. You're in movies. I'm not. So good shit. And then we have Halsey. Yeah, Halsey plays a friend of Maxine's named Tabby, you know, coworker. They work at the same, like, kind of showgirls kind of place. So that's, yeah, that's Halsey. Lily Collins playing Molly Bennett. Now, she is supposed to be, I guess, like the main girl or like maybe the final girl, but I think she dies in the movie, technically, of the movie that's in their universe that they're filming for, because they're filming for the Protestant 2, but she was in the Protestant 1. She was like the main actress. And then we have the GOAT himself, Giancarlo Esposito. Obviously, people have to know his name. You know, he's from The Boys, Breaking Bad. He's fucking great, man. He's always great as a villain. And in this one, not so villainy. He's kind of a cool friend guy, but still he's like a shady business agent in Hollywood. Lives up to the name. Is in fact the big bad wolf. And then we have Kevin Breakfast, the GOAT of this movie, playing a PI named John. He goes out of his way. He's one of the sleaziest criminal PI motherfuckers ever. But man, he steals the show every time he's on the screen, man. And that's no surprise coming from Kevin Bacon, because anytime he is anywhere near horror, he does phenomenal. And he has been a #1 fan cast for a good amount of years now to be like the next Freddy Krueger. And honestly, and I would think that's super poetic since he did make his film debut in Friday the 13th. So just for all of these years later, for him to just end up being Freddy Krueger, that's so fucking rad. That would be sick. It needs to happen. I have a feeling he would be down for it too, and he would kill it. I mean, look how he did in Hollow Man, which if none of you have seen Hollow Man, it's a great like sci-fi horror movie about like an invisible man, you know, this scientist who just becomes super egotistical, greedy, and perverted. And it's definitely an interesting take on like the invisible man trope. And I think it's probably one of the top 3 best examples, because you got The Invisible Man, the remake, which was more the techie, physically and emotionally abusive, like boyfriend. And then you have Kevin Bacon's character, who was just like a mad scientist, very egotistical, perverted. And then you have the original Invisible Man, who was honestly just a fucking psycho and just murdering people. And one day I am going to cover the Invisible Man remake and Hollow Man. I might just talk about them in the same like video, just because they're both invisible men, and like which one would probably be more dangerous or like more creepy or something like that. It would be very interesting. All right, now we're going to get into the movie. So in light of everything going on, the Night Stalker, it does have people pretty paranoid, especially women walking around at night by themselves. So Maxine and Tabby, they're walking through the city, walking from work. So she accompanies her a little bit. Tabby eventually takes a cab, and then Maxine's gonna walk home by herself. And she just says she could take care of herself. She's a big girl. Obviously, we already know that for fact. She can indeed take care of herself. But there's this incident while Maxine was walking home. She walks down an alleyway and somebody starts following her. And it's one of those people that are dressed up as a character, like an impersonator. I'm not sure what character it was, but they're going down the alleyway. It's blocked off because it's gated and it does have a padlock. And so this guy really starts to put on the theatrics. I think he definitely wanted to feel like a big man. So he's putting on this like kind of bravado, like this like creepy like tone, and it sounds like he's lowering his voice a bit whenever you say like you can run but you can't hide. And then he has like this nice little switchblade and he's getting closer and closer to her. And he's just walking slow. He's going very slow about it. So obviously he's trying to give off a vibe, playing with his food a little bit. And whenever he does get closer, Maxine just whips out some very polished, nice looking iron and just points it at him, which there's been stills of that. So there is like pictures of her with this weapon. And the guy immediately folds and just drops his weapon. It's like, oh shit. And then she just starts giving him shit like, okay, start stripping. And I do love how this is one of the first scenes that we see with Maxine, because no fucking way. No way. No fucking way. Are you kidding me? Dude, no fucking way. Well, okay, fuck. I just got a text saying that Shelley Duvall died. If you guys aren't familiar with Shelley Duvall, she's fucking hell, man, that sucks. Yeah, she was in The Shining, man. Wow, honestly, one of my favorite horror movies ever. And then I see it on Twitter too. Fuck, man. Like, check that out. Yeah, Shelley Duvall passed away, 75. Fuck, dude. Damn. Mad respect to Shelley Duvall and everything she's done. That's fuck. Damn, dude, that's so fucked. Oh man. All right. Damn, man, that definitely killed my mood. Fuck, I feel so bad for any of her remaining family or anything like that. That's really sad. We lost an incredible scream queen today, man. The day I'm recording this, July 11th, 2024. Fucking hell. Damn, dude. Now I gotta cover The Shining. I have to. I gotta find some way to pay respect. That's so unfortunate, man. Damn. Yeah. That killed my mood a bit. I'm sorry, guys. I'll try to come back in a more chipper mood in the editing cut. Oh, all right. Yeah, so as I was saying, it's incredible that this is one of the first scenes that we're seeing with Maxine, to where she just shows like this prowess. And I think this is a very I would say like empowering moment, in my opinion, for like women that probably have been in this scenario or just want to see that comeuppance. So Maxine is able to whip out this iron on this guy that's trying to come down the alleyway and try to be like the big bad wolf. And she just completely sheds this dude's skin, man. She breaks him down to the core, like just embarrasses and humiliates him, which, just like we talked about last time in the first Omen, that somebody out there definitely enjoyed the beast intimate scenes, if you know what I mean. I think there's definitely people out there who enjoyed this, because the comments on Letterboxd definitely proved that. So she told this dude to strip, and he just starts stripping, getting down, being all shy, covering his junk. And it's like, bro, you were big and bad a second ago, but not anymore. And so she tells him to get on his knees and then to suck. And I feel like this is where that really started to get a lot of people. So he just starts deep throating this precious silver like gat that she has, and then starts to gag on it. And so she tells him, like, face down on the ground, like face down, ass up. And that blew my mind for a second because I genuinely thought we were gonna see some pretty gnarly shit go down right now. Like, this dude was not about to have a chill night if he's not into this. So I thought, and my girlfriend thought, this dude just lubed up this gun and it's about to enter the chocolate starfish. And dude, that is going to be wild. And there's no telling if she would pull the trigger or not. But that's not what happened. So he just lays flat. So I think the directions of face down, ass up weren't as clear. I don't know if he followed them as properly or to what she wanted, but he made the effort. So he's just laying flat. So she starts talking to him. Do you know what I did to the last person that tried to kill me? And then she says, I crushed her fucking skull. And then there's just a close up of this dude's Franken beans. And she just stomps with these like stiletto heels and just completely pops it, rips it. You just see like the blood pouring out. And this dude's just wailing and cut. Like, that's it. Fucking wild. It is not the opening to the movie because we do have her audition scene, but this was a very wild follow-up. This is probably like the second scene that happens in the movie, second or third scene, very early on. And now there was this one scene that I really enjoyed where we first got introduced to Leon, which is really great character. I love his design and everything. He seems like a really chill dude. He's the VHS store guy. So she goes into his VHS store. He's putting away movies. And so she asks him, okay, name 5 celebrities that got their start in horror movies. And then he starts to name them, John Travolta, Brooke Shields, Demi Moore, Jamie Lee Curtis. And she cuts him off and says, Maxine fucking Meeks. The clip from the trailer that a lot of people have seen, I've seen it as GIFs, posted on Twitter, everywhere. It's quotable. Maxine fucking Meeks is a thing. But it's not just them. There's plenty more. I think horror is very important and a really good stepping stone for a lot of people trying to get their start in Hollywood because horror is cheap to make. Probably not as much anymore nowadays, but still by the standards of Hollywood, it is really cheap to make. And you could get people in who have no experience and then out of nowhere, they could just become big names. I mean, we do have like Paul Rudd, who debuted in, I believe it was Halloween 6. And that's technically his first acting credit because that movie was filmed before Clueless, but then Clueless came out first. So Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, is still technically his first like film debut. And one of Kevin Bacon's first acting credits, I think it was the second one, he was in Friday the 13th, very early on. And then Footloose is what really got him out there, which Footloose, goated. And then an underrated scream queen, in my opinion, Regina Hall. If you do not know that name, shame on you. She plays Brenda Meeks in the Scary Movie franchise. She is killed off in every single movie that she appears in, but somehow keeps coming back. And I never questioned it as a child because Brenda is just so fucking funny. Her and Anna Faris' Cindy, oh my God, they're like literally one brain cell. They're both half of a brain cell, and it's so fucking funny. And Brenda is so quotable in all of those movies. Like, I'm pretty sure you can think of something. Very underrated. Regina Hall did phenomenal. And I believe Scary Movie wasn't Regina Hall's first acting credit, but that definitely got her name out there, man. And she was in multiple of them since. I think she was like in 4 of them. And then she just became the Regina Hall. And this is a pretty big one. Skeet Ulrich. Okay, he had a few small gigs, playing some extras in some movies, but he had his big break in 1996 where he did The Craft, and he also did Scream in the same year. And then alongside him, Neve Campbell, who was in both of those as well and just became like the icon she is today. Both of them became iconic. Granted, Skeet Ulrich didn't have as big of a part in The Craft as she did, but still, they're both elevated to that status. An iconic final girl, the pinnacle, what a final girl should be, probably the most perfect one in a lot of people's eyes, like the number one. And then you have Skeet Ulrich, who is one of the most iconic slasher, like masked killers ever, and anybody can recognize. And obviously, I'm a huge fan because I have all of this back here. So everybody gets a really good start in horror. And I think if you are an aspiring actor out there, definitely try to get your foot in the door in some horror. Make connections, make some friends. You know, that's how you do it in Hollywood. Networking is how you get jobs and how you keep moving forward. And to a lot of people, this was them paying their dues, starring in a horror movie that agents probably wouldn't really recommend, or like, hey, just do it for the paycheck, whatever. And then this became the golden egg that they needed, the opportunity. And when opportunity comes knocking, bro, you better answer the fucking door. And that's what these people did. And look where they are now. Icons, legends. And there's plenty more where that came from, because you still got people like Bruce Campbell. And there's still way more where that came from, of people getting like a huge start in horror. Bruce Campbell, Patricia Arquette, who is one of the best Nightmare on Elm Street kills ever. And honestly, one of the most iconic ones and my personal favorite to this day. Anya Taylor-Joy, who was in The Witch, very first acting credit right there. Incredible fucking movie that is held to such a high standard nowadays. Adam Scott in Hellraiser Bloodline, Eva Mendes in Children of the Corn 5. Like, there's just so fucking many, dude, where they got either their very first start or their big break right then and there. It's incredible. Horror is important. Everyone loves horror, and it pays off very well. Oh, and I guess I didn't clarify yet. We're going into the spoilery section of this movie. So, you know, while she is trying to have her comeuppance in Hollywood, she does have to go through with cops trying to figure out what's going on with her and trying to investigate, because her friends are also disappearing and dying. And then she's still getting these cryptic messages here and there of trying to meet up in the Hollywood Hills. And I think the movie does a really good job of, you know, just showing how kind of gritty Hollywood could be. I feel like it definitely could have done more. It could have honed in on it a bit more. And I did like the killer reveal. I know a lot of people didn't, and I didn't do much for everybody, but I still really enjoyed it, and I thought it made sense. And this is where the spoiler is going to come in. It was revealed to be the dad. Her dad was going around killing people. And I think it should have been very obvious, because it was very obvious to me, because one of the first things you see in this movie is a clip of her as a child. Who's going to have that, man? Like, that's pretty obvious. And if people didn't catch on to it in the beginning and then they were just thrown off by the end, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I guess you just weren't really paying attention enough, or it just didn't click. I know some people just watch movies. They don't really think everything through because they're just watching it, and that's perfectly fine. I would hate if my brain is just consistently running all the time while trying to watch a movie, and then you're not fully enjoying it because you're either breaking it down, or, you know, you're just looking at it by too technical of a lens, and you're like critiquing it the whole time and just kind of shitting on it and not really enjoying a movie. I would hate that. That would fucking suck. And once again, spoiler, you know, for Maxine. Maxine definitely pulled a Scream 3. It is the third movie in the franchise, and it brings back a relative that just comes out of nowhere and just starts murdering people, trying to also get back at their relative, who is our final girl, who would be, you know, Maxine equivalent to Sidney. Thing is, Ronan, I fucking hated. I did not like Ronan. I did not like that story. Scream 3 is funny to watch. It's a fun watch, but it does suck narrative wise. Like, it's just not good, in my opinion. It completely undermines the first movie. Don't love it at all. But in this movie, it makes sense because he's very theatrical and dramatic, this televangelist. You got movies being targeted very harshly by the MPAA, and then you also have music, which they do show in the very beginning about little clips of the trial involving Dee Snider and other celebrities going on with the Washington wives. Well, you know, they were just wives of like political figures, you know, the PRMC, the Parents Resource Music Center, which is where we got the parental advisory stickers on stuff, and that whole clash where they talk about, oh, you know, everybody's thinking about sex, drugs, and all this other stuff, like sinful lifestyles. It became like such a huge thing. And that's what he's doing. He's taking advantage of all of that to make himself a bigger and more well-known televangelist by preying on their fears. So he's even giving up his daughter, because at the end of the movie, he's even willing to sacrifice his daughter in this exorcism to finish out his movie, because he's documenting everything about how Hollywood is, which understandably so, I don't blame him, but his ethics are going completely wrong because he's also giving into it to benefit from the same thing that he's criticizing as well. Like, this dude was even doing his makeup in the mirror. He has very terrible makeup at the end of the movie because I mean, he's a dude. He doesn't have much experience and he's an older guy at that. So this isn't his thing, but he wants to look good for the camera. That's the thing. He has this really bad makeup like around his eyes. You know, he's doing his face like bronzer stuff. You see the discoloration between his neck, which is his actual skin tone, and then his face. It is so bad. And I only know this because of my girlfriend is big into makeup and I know all of that. So his blender and bronze and all that other shit, it just wasn't popping, yo. And it's obvious that this is what he is. And his daughter had the same ambition. They weirdly had the same ambitions. And the same thing with Pearl, but they all went about it in completely different ways. And Maxine was the only one that had the drive and the actual talent to actually pave her way and make it in Hollywood. They definitely outdid themselves and outperformed Scream 3 with a very similar aspect. And since I was just talking about Scream, I do have to compare Sidney and Maxine. Now, I love Sidney Prescott. Nev Campbell, amazing, a babe, icon. That is what she is. Maxine, Mia Goth, amazing, a babe, talented, both of them, big names. And this movie right here, it's mainly about her character is what I really like. I relate more to Maxine than I do to Sidney Prescott. Because Sidney Prescott, when she was going through everything, once again, like I said earlier, I think she's the pinnacle of what a final girl should be. She is like the perfect representation for like your average, you know, Jane Doe, like female protagonist. That's what she is. Because she was going through something traumatic, but through adversity and just sheer willingness to like live and get out of the bullshit that she was dealing with, all while still in high school and dealing with losing a parent at such a terrible, like, you know, age. It's 18 is still like really young for that to happen. And then your friends dying like one by one. Yeah, that is very traumatizing, but she still found a way through all of it. She just wanted to be normal. She wanted to go from here and just go. She just wanted to get away from everything and live a normal life away from all of that. But life had other plans. Obviously, she kept going through the same problems over and over, getting re-traumatized. But she had an amazing arc of running away and only defending herself for whenever she had to running towards danger and helping strangers going through a similar problem. She did that. And of course she got fame and stuff off of it, because why not benefit a little bit off of it, because things keep coming and these opportunities keep presenting themselves. And then somebody else like Gail Weathers, who was just mooching off of it, getting rich as well. So yeah, own your own story, own your person and your experience and make something of it. That's what she did. She went up as well. But Maxine, she came from nothing and a very controlled environment with religious restrictions, which ultimately does make people want to break out and act out. You meet so many people who aren't religious because it was forced on them so heavy-handed, and they do have like these extreme personalities or all these other extreme aspects of themselves. But she was also inspired by her dad to be a star and to be special. So he kind of planted that in her, but it went a completely different direction. And instead, she was making her way. She was grinding to get what she wanted. She was using every bit of her person to take the initiative and go up a step. And that's what she was doing. And she made it to Hollywood. I relate to that aspect of wanting to be creative and make your stamp, you know, in the world. And also get away from the bullshit that you came from. Because like her slogan says, I will not accept a life I do not deserve. An incredible slogan I think a lot of people can relate to nowadays, because the world is so fucked right now. Everybody's struggling. People want to be creative. People want to be loved, followed, admired. They want to be famous. They want to be rich. They want to be comfortable. They want to be stable. I would just love to be stable. That's all I want. When I see rich celebrities, I can't comprehend how a lot of them just live past their means and they eventually just go broke and usually fade into obscurity or just become like a laughing stock. And that is sad to see, but it's like you do it to yourself. I'm fucking somebody that just lives paycheck to paycheck, but I want to do something creative. I want to enjoy doing what I do. And even if nobody else sees it or anything, I'm making it for myself. And if other people like it, awesome. Other people like it and they can probably join me on the journey and we go up from there. And I don't know what happens from there, but I completely understand her drive and determination of wanting to do exactly that. Because Maxine goes from just cutting coke with a razor in the very beginning of the movie all the way to the end where she gets her SAG card and she's cutting coke with her SAG card for being like a phenomenal actress in her movie The Puritan 2, and just snorts a line with that. That is an incredible like jump. I think that's just so fucking cool of that from here to now. I think that's really cool. And you know what? I'm 27 now. I'm going to be 28 by the end of the month, and I'm going to call it now. And I even said this to my girlfriend when we watched it in theaters, like, that's going to be me one day. She's like, what, cutting Coke? I was like, well, no, cutting Coke like with a SAG card. Yeah, that's going to be me. First time ever doing it and have a SAG card. It's like, I'm not saying I'll be an actor, but I would love to be in a horror movie, die in a horror movie or something. And that is on my bucket list before I am 30. So I'm going to follow in the way of Maxine Minx because she is inspirational, motivational, and just bona fide badass. So yeah, obviously I think highly of this movie. I think it's great, but like I said earlier, X is still my number one. And I just think it's because they did everything perfect in that movie. This movie, I completely understand a lot of the criticisms, but I still really enjoyed it. And I think you should form your own opinion, watch the movie. I know a lot of people didn't really like the end of the whole shootout and everything going on there. I still thought it was kind of cool, the whole culty aspect of it. And I'm into culty stuff. I think it's really cool. I mean, one of my favorite, like, infamous people in history would be, like, Charles Manson and the Manson family. Super weird and just a very interesting time of somebody who took advantage of all these little moments and somehow completely changed Hollywood and how people saw like the hippie movement and just your overly charismatic people that you definitely got to look out for. Everybody loves charisma, but there's an extent and it can be dangerous, and he is a prime example of that. And they did this with some pretty decent style. In this movie, it is very giallo inspired, which if you're not familiar with giallo, it is like an Italian form of filmmaking that mainly focuses on like horror, like murder mystery slasher stuff. Very much like that, which is where we get the inspiration here in America. And you will see it, even though if you're not familiar about it. I'm not super familiar with it. I don't know if I've seen a lot of giallo films. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. But you are familiar with the works, like the shots and how things look. And there was a few moments in this film where I definitely noticed it. I love how they played with silhouettes in this movie. In the very beginning, you get to see Maxine undressing, which, by the way, they definitely tried to separate a bit, because in X, you definitely got to see more Mia Gothel, you know, in the nude. In this movie, not so much at all, other than whenever they have like clips references to X, that's when you see it. And they don't sexualize her as much as they probably could, because she is like a sex symbol now in this movie. So I think that was a visual way of them saying we're stepping away of what she was to what she is now. She is now a star. She does not have to sell her body like that. Now she is selling herself, her face, her talent, you know, her voice. That's what she's selling. And I think they did that very well here in like a visual storytelling. So these movies, I think, work very well together. But like I was saying, she was undressing, but it was behind like this stylistic glass wall, and you could just see her, like her silhouette. They definitely did it perfectly, where you could see her like, you know, taking off her shirt, pulling down like her pants and stuff. And like the way she was bending, they were very much playing with the silhouettes in a really cool way. And the same way with Kevin Bacon, whenever he was chasing Maxine and they ended up at the Psycho house, you know, on the lot, you know, that house that they used to film Psycho. And he walks up to the door, you see the perfect outline of like his, you know, brimmed hat, you know, the like fedora, his suit outline. And then whenever he like turns sideways, you see a perfect profile where he's opening the door. They did it on purpose, because why do you need to fully rotate and face the opposite direction to open the door? It makes no sense. So they were purposely doing that. And then the close-ups of the weapons and how they were used to show off the slashing and the kills, which they really showed off whenever it came down to Leon dying in the VHS store, which is my favorite kill in this movie. I think it's my favorite kill. We do get to see Kevin Bacon die in this movie in a very cool and predicted, you know, hydraulic press scene while he's in the car. Very well done. And when I say predicted, they were both predicted just like how they were doing in X, you know, with the crocodile being shot at by farmers, having a heart attack, breaking a hip, you know, all these different things. They were all predicted in this way of just being foreshadowed. In this movie, it's the same way, because Kevin Bacon talks about, you know, religious guilt and being crushed by it. And whenever he is about to be crushed in this hydraulic press while he's also in his car, you know, handcuffed to the steering wheel, he starts praying, but claims he was an atheist way in the beginning of the film. And then you got Leon. I feel like with Leon, he didn't foreshadow his death too much, but he does have a cast in the movie, and he had this big butcher's knife, which was the weapon he does get killed by. And he was just playing with it. He would have it stuck up against his cast and just like twirling it around while he's like watching something. And that's eventually what happens. He just gets stabbed right in the arm, you know, pretty gnarly. And then he gets like slashed like in the face, like down the eye and stuff. Really good practical effects. They did a great job when it comes down to it. So the gore in here, I really, really liked it. They did a really good job. I think the gore in this one is definitely better than the one in X. I think the kills were probably cooler in my opinion, or at least they had more of a lasting impact to me. So pretty good shit, because in X, I think RJ was probably like the gnarliest one in my opinion. Yeah, I think RJ was the gnarliest one, and it looked really nice. So there we go. They had some style to it. Ty West, he does know how to do it. And I know some people think he was getting a bit high on his own supply, you know, coming off the first two films, but I still think he stuck the landing. There's rumors there might be another prequel of some sort. I don't know what. I think it could probably end here. I don't think it needs to keep going. I don't want them to milk it too much, but I'll be seated. I'll watch it because I love it. And thankfully, I do have a Maxxine poster on the way from Atlanta from a connection I have at a Regal theater, because I do have my X one hung up on the wall of Mia Goth. And now I'm going to have the Maxxine one. I missed out on Pearl, unfortunately. It would have been cool to have all three. And I know I could just get it printed, but I like having the official marketing for a movie theater. I love having those. To me, it just feels more special. I like having it, collecting those posters. It's just really sick and something I like to do of movies I really, really enjoy. Now, I can't remember if I stated this earlier, but I'll say it once again. This movie came out on July 5th. So if that happens to be your birthday, fucking sick, man. We got birthdays in July. That's awesome. Mine is July 31st. We're summer babies, and that feels like fucking shit when you live in Florida, because it is too fucking hot to have your birthday in the fucking summer. But I believe that is everything I wanted to cover. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoy the movie. If you haven't seen it, you know, come back to this. Let me know what you think when I talk about it. I broke it down as much as I could really think of. I don't think there was a whole lot to really go off. I don't think it was as rich as X, you know, like in substance. And I do understand, you know, a lot of the characters weren't really broken down. They're not as likable as the previous ones, because I loved all the characters in X. I thought they were all great characters, good people. None of them were bad people. You didn't want any of them to die. I didn't have that same relationship with these characters, but I still enjoyed a few of them, and I still really enjoyed the movie. And honestly, probably end up watching it again very soon. But please, by all means, let me know what you guys think. Social medias are going to be in the link below. I straight up forgot to read you guys a Cookie's Fortune. I was just about to start editing, and then I noticed that I didn't. So I have one for you. Every new beginning comes from another beginning's end. Do with that what you will, ladies and gentlemen. But until next time, be excellent, be kind, subscribe to the channel.